If there's one thing that's for sure about the Star Wars franchise right now, it's that it is an interesting time for the galaxy far, far away. While Episode 9 films to wrap up the Skywalker saga, the standalone Star Wars stories are pumping the brakes. While new trilogies are being planned from Game of Thrones showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss and Last Jedi director Rian Johnson respectively, Jon Favreau is developing a live-action TV series. And it's about that live-action TV series that we've now gotten an incredibly interesting new rumor from a very reputable outlet detailing what the series is going to cover and when it'll be set. You ready? Well, according to this new report, Jon Favreau's live-action series will be all about the Mandalorians. More than that, the show is said to be set in the time period directly following Return of the Jedi after the fall of the Empire, about 3 years post the Battle of Endor, and who we know the Empire did have a tight grip on Mandalore. Let's back it up a step though. The rumor first broke earlier this week, coming to us by way of MakingStarWars.net, and that's a website that you're probably familiar with if you're a Star Wars superfan. They've only been around since 2012, but they've already got an incredible track record for having really accurate scoops based on reports from insider sources. In this case, they've said that this wasn't just something they've heard from one person, but rather something they were hearing from multiple sources within Lucasfilm, and they do say take it with a grain of salt, but also that the sources have been very accurate in the past. There's actually some decent evidence that what they're hearing is true, too. I mean, first and foremost, the setting post-Return of the Jedi was actually one of the earliest things rumored about the live-action series, but it didn't actually mention the Mandalorians by name specifically at that point. There's also the fact that Favreau reportedly loves the concept of Mandalorians personally, I guess in general, as a fan himself, and he actually even voiced one on the Clone Wars, where he played Pre Vizsla, the leader of Clan Vizsla and Death Watch, which, we're going to talk about in a second. Beyond that, it's not like the show is actually that far off or that early in development either. I mean, according to a new report from our friends over at Discussing Film, which actually broke after this initial rumor, the show is set to begin production on October 1st in Los Angeles, so there is a very real chance these story rumors are actually from a finalized plot. Getting into the meat of the rumor though, there is a lot to unpack here in the context of what we know about Mandalore, even just in the new canon since Disney took over and wiped out the old expanded universe. The most interesting aspect to me personally is the way that Making Star Wars describes the central focus of the show as the Mandalorians trying to reclaim their culture. For those of you that don't remember, Mandalore was an independent planet during the Clone Wars, but it was then occupied by the Republic after a lengthy siege to root out Darth Maul. Of course, very shortly after that, the Republic quickly became the Empire, which further tightened its grip on the planet, outlawing them from becoming mercenaries, which was really one of the last vestiges of their tribal warrior past, and they also installed an Imperial Academy there, and generally just brutally cracked down on those people for the entire reign of the Empire. When it's described as Mandalorians trying to reclaim their culture, though, there's always that question, which culture specifically are they trying to reclaim? The race is probably best known by longtime fans, especially of the old EU, for being tribal, almost Spartan-like warriors. They were legendary. Their society was built around strength and fighting, and they were some of the fiercest soldiers in the galaxy. That had been their reputation for thousands of years. But after centuries of war had left their planet scarred, the Mandalorians realized that they had to change their ways, exiling the last of their warriors to their moon and becoming a mostly peaceful society, which we see early on in the Clone Wars is mostly successful. But even in that peace, there were factions that still wanted to resurrect the old ways, that tribal warrior tradition, which of course they see as their, innate cultural identity. They want to bring that back and restore themselves to greatness. So the question is, in the struggle of overthrowing the Empire, which we see begins in Star Wars Rebels before A New Hope, do they fight to restore peaceful order, or do they fight to restore their old clan ways? Or is that a conflict that we'll see as the backbone of this new show? I mean, only time is going to tell. Of course, the new series provides a ton of opportunities for crossovers and cameos with characters that we know and love. I mean, the first one that comes to mind has gotta be Boba Fett, who of course is the most iconic Mandalorian in the minds of many. Of course, in-universe, Fett's reputation among his own people is unknown. We know that his father was viewed by the planet's government as a pretender, and whether or not he was actually even a Mandalorian was called into question. And of course, he was an assassin. Boba, like his father, is also an assassin, which the government didn't like. And he's also a clone, and we really don't know how that's viewed back home, and even if Boba wants to return, we're not sure about that either. The big question there, and maybe with this show in general being about the Mandalorians, is Logan director James Mangold's Boba Fett solo movie. Some reports have said that Disney is looking to pump the brakes on all of their spin-offs, some reports have doubted those reports, and as far as we can tell, Mangold's movie is still in development, but the question remains, when is it actually set? It could follow his early days, before he became a bounty hunter, which we saw a little bit of in the Clone Wars, or it could also pick up right after Episode 6 with him escaping the Sarlacc pit, which, believe it or not, still has not officially happened in Disney canon. They say he survived it, they just haven't told us how yet. But there's also a great opportunity here for the live-action show to tie itself into the animated side of the Star Wars universe. When Clone Wars returns for its Season 7, we'll see the Siege of Mandalore, which could lay the groundwork for connections to characters like Ahsoka Tano, who we know was there. Rebels had a great arc involving Mandalore as well, and potentially in the same vein we could see a character like Sabine Wren, who we know remained on Lothal until after Return of the Jedi, when she went to go find Ezra Bridger. And, could her journey with Ahsoka to find Ezra have brought her back to Mandalore? We don't know. We also could see the earliest days of the New Republic, which would be either an ally or potentially an enemy to the peaceful and more tribal aspects of Mandalorian culture respectively, as the Republic, tries to rebuild the fractured galaxy after the war. There was probably still a lot of support for the Imperials, probably a lot of people that wanted to be independent, and, we could see this new government trying to approach a planet that probably wants to be independent. Let me know what you think of the rumor, whether or not you hope it's true, and what you hope to see if it is in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for me here, though. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider turning on your notifications to be alerted every time we upload a new video. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.